Hey YouTubers, well, we're going to be installing the Raptor lights today in the 24 Toyota RAV4. This fits the 2019 through the 2024 models. I wanted to show you, these are some Raptor lights that I found on Temu that was really good quality, and they were only $12 and some change. Now, I know what you're going to say. Oh yeah, you see all those things that saying the Raptor lights, they don't last long, and they get moisture in them, they quit working after a few months. Well, I fixed these so they don't have that problem. So come up a little closer and I'll show you what we did. So you can see right here that we drilled just a little hole on the very top through the amber colored ABS plastic, and I took a syringe with a like a crafting syringe with a needle on it, and I sucked up some epoxy that I paid $5 for on Temu. And this stuff dried through the night, and it dried clear, and man, I'm telling you, it really sealed these up so no water can get in there and ruin these. You know, now if they burn out because the bulb's bad, then that's fine, but you know, for $12.97 I thought it was smart, and I went ahead and bought 3 sets. And anyways, like I said, I went ahead with that $5 epoxy. I was able to do all 3 sets of lights, and we sealed them up so there's epoxy all in the amber color and all in the black part right in there, so these are actually solid now. And then we took and put some epoxy across the back and sealed those wires up, and then there was some spots where, you know, it didn't seal all the way, so I took and I just put some Gorilla Glue, the hot glue made by Gorilla Glue. There's some hot glue sticks, and I just melted that hot glue back in there because this stuff's pretty flexible and it seals it up. And I thought for this end that I would take and put a little dielectric grease in there, and right over here you can see where I did some alterations on the harness. This is the way the harness comes, with this little cheap loom on it, and I thought, well, I can doctor it up a little bit better than that. And so I took and put some of that hot glue by Gorilla Glue on the back of the connectors so water can't get in going in from that direction. And then I'm going to take some dielectric grease, some of this super lube, and I'm going to put it, smear just a little bit on that connector so it stays nice and lubricated, keeps that water out. And then I'm just going to dab just a little dielectric grease on the ends right in there so, you know, water stays out. And then I wrapped the whole I wrapped the whole harness in some loom, and you can tell it looks a lot better, so that way you ain't got no mice chewing on these little wires. And then I went ahead and elongated the power wire. I just had some extra wire, and it's not going to be this long. I'm going to cut it off once I figure out where it's going to go. And then I elongated the ground wire, so these are going to hook right into the fuse box, and you know, they're gonna turn on whenever the car turns on. So I just wanted to show you guys some of the other lights that we did, just to let you know that, you know, they all turned out really amazing. I mean, literally they turned out great, and I'm just very happy with it. And we only used about half of that $5 epoxy, and it took probably 4 or 5 hours for it to start hardening up. I did put some heat on it for a little bit, and it seemed like it started working a little bit better once I heated it up. But by the time we went to bed, woke up the next morning, these were already pretty much solid. Now I did go through and wipe them off with some alcohol and get some of that residue off of them, but there was no problem. I mean, these things filled up right with that epoxy, and they're hard as a rock. So if, you know, a rock was to hit them, I doubt that it would break them. You know, it would have to really hit them hard. So now I have 3 sets, only $13 a set. And so if I break one or it goes out, all I have to do is just disconnect it. You know, just disconnect it, put another one in. It's already done. And so seems to work good. I've tested all of them and they all work. Now, if you're wondering, how do these lights fit into the grill? Well, when you order these from Temu, these particular ones that I found come with a bracket, and this bracket here just fits just like this. And you can see that this one's already been in there, and it's been in there for several weeks, and it hasn't went anywhere. That thing is very strong, and I've been very pleased with it. And so what you do is you just take it and you just slide it in there. I think what you do is just kind of grip down on it like that. And yeah, you heard that click. Once that thing clicks into place, man, that thing ain't going nowhere. And it's the same thing with this. You can see that the ones on Temu have this big old wide thick piece of plastic right there. It's not flimsy at all. It's got like a hook on it, so it hooks on the top, and then for the bottom you've got a big old thick piece of plastic right there with some anti-slip material. And you just take and you just grip it, squeeze it at the top, and push it in place. And man, when that thing locks in there, it's locked in there. So we're just going to go ahead and stick all 4 of them in. And you can see that, guys. They're in there solid. There's no play in them. That's why I was shocked. I was like, $13 off of Temu? That's awesome. And then also, that wiring harness comes with this little tap for the fuse box. Now, it did have a butt connector already put on there. I cut that off. I'm going to put like a heat shrink joint, a solder joint in there, and do it right. But just wanted to show you, it comes with everything. Now, the way that we're going to do the installation is we're going to have to remove these little clips right here, these little push pins. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you got 2 10mm bolts, one right here and then one on the other side. So you got to remove this whole little plastic piece, and then you have to remove the bolts that come into this hinge right here. And then once you remove all that, then this thing just opens up where you can get back there and work on it. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so this is a 10mm, and so is that one. I went ahead and removed that one, and this one is almost out. Now I will say this is a 24 model vehicle, and these were in here pretty tight, so if you start to take them out, they might be a little tight for you guys too if it's the first time. And then next we're going to go ahead and remove those push pins. Now these little bastards here pop up with a trim tool. You can use a flat bladed screwdriver, but I think a trim tool does a better job sometimes. But the way that these work, if you've never used them before, they push in like that when you go to put them in, and then to take them out, you know, that centerpiece just pops up just like that right there. But there's some around the perimeter, just take them all out. And the way that you remove this hood latch here is it's 10mm, but yeah, just use a 10mm, get it loose, and then you can kind of grab it with your fingers there. But again, these are going to be kind of tight. I've never had these out before. But now one thing I want to make mention is if you're watching this video and you're anticipating doing this mod, there's some other mods that, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to make separate videos on it, so you guys, you know, can watch those. But now would be a good time to, if you don't like the stop start feature on the vehicle, there is a plug right here at my finger that you can undo, and that's for the hood latch. So if the hood latch sensor or the plug is disconnected right there, the auto stop start feature on your car won't work. It just won't work. Might show a warning light on your dash, but you know, and they might give you a little grief for it if you was to take it into a dealer. But you know, if you disconnect it, it won't work. You don't have to worry about the stop start feature working. So if you're like me and get annoyed with that stupid thing cutting on and off, if you come to a red light, just unplug it. You don't have to worry about it no more. But anyways, another thing that you can do is to replace the horns. That's what we're going to do in another video, but the horns are up under here. I'm going to go ahead and replace those. And then another popular mod that people do is put the screens behind the grill, because if a rock flies up to the condenser there, it's quite costly to have it fixed. So I'm fixing to do another video on putting that screen in there. We're going to do it all today, but not in this video. We're going to break it up. This one's just for the Raptor lights, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to remove this piece here. There's another bolt there in the middle up underneath here, and I'm going to have to get my hand in there to loosen, so bear with me. Alright guys, so here's a tip for you. When you go to remove this hatch, like if I said, if you want to disable the stop start, just unplug that plug right there. I don't know how well you guys can see it. Just unplug it and just leave it disconnected, and that will you know, stop the start stop feature, but it'll also probably put a warning check engine light on and let you know the hood's probably up or something like that. So just be warned if you do that. But they do make disablers though. If you want to don't want to see that check engine light on, you can just Google start stop disablers on Google and it'll show you some. But next we're gonna remove this little trim piece here, and again I've gotten all the fasteners out of it, and you can see it just kind of plopped up out of the way. It's really flexible. I'm just going to set it right on top of the engine right in there. Now whenever you remove this piece, you can see down in here at the AC condenser, and you can see what I'm talking about. If you're doing this job, now's a good time to add that screen. Look at all the bugs that's in that condenser. Once they start getting packed full of bugs, they're less efficient. And then what I was saying earlier is, you know, I've seen where people have been having problems with the rocks flying through there and busting that condenser, and it's quite costly, you know, if your car's out of warranty, or you know, if it's a rock or something like that. I don't know if warranty would cover it, but anyways, yeah, and that'd be a good time to put those screens in there. So that's probably what we're going to do. And then also you can replace the horns. So you can see right here is your horns. Got one there, and then there's one on this side, and you know, that's why the horns in this thing sound so puny, because you know, they're tiny little horns. But we're going to be focusing on the Raptor lights. I just wanted to show you those so you can watch some of my other videos, and I'll show you how to do that. But I'm probably going to do it here back to back, but I don't want to confuse anybody, get too much stuff going on. But stay tuned. So the cool thing about these Raptor lights that I found on Temu is they're good quality, but the brackets here are really good quality. But the thing that I like about this is they can slide in and out without having to remove the whole light. Now the way that you do it is you got to play around with the plug and figure out which way the plug fits through there, and you can see that it's a very tight fit, and you can see that I just pushed it right through there. And keep in mind, when I put my light in there, I had to drill a hole in the bottom and fill it up full of epoxy, so I'm putting the hole at the bottom. And then what you do is just push the light into that bracket, and look at that. It fits in there nice and solid. There's no wiggle, no jiggle, there's no play. And now, since those things are full of epoxy, they're bulletproof. Another reason why I like these Temu lights better than some of the other ones that I've been seeing is the amber housing on these are a lot smaller than some of the others that are real big. So I like that it's, you know, a little bit more subtle than such a big ass light down here. I just think it looks better to me, and I think it just gives the car a little bit more character, because it, you know, it's white and it don't have much color here in the front. You know, you pull up to a red light, you know, at least people now can see that these are going to be lit up, and you know, it looks good, and it gets you a little more attention or whatever. But I just think, you know, with the amber part of it being a little smaller, I think it just looks better to me. So like I was saying before, I'm just going to take a little dielectric grease, smear it on a Q-tip, and then right here you've got these weatherproof connectors. And I know they're weatherproof, guys, and I know this is probably overkill, but you know, if I do something, I don't want to have to do it again. It pisses me off to have to do it 2 or 3 times. So I'm just going to take and put that grease down in there, help create a nice little seal, put a little grease right in there, so that way, you know, water doesn't stand a chance getting down in there, especially when they're connected. And it also helps keep that that little rubber boot right there nice and lubricated, so they come on and off easier. So like I said, I just use the Super Lube. It's a multi-purpose synthetic silicone grease. You can use this stuff on like pressure washing seals and things like that, but it works good on O-rings and things like that too. But helps make a good lubrication to get these on and off if you have to change one. That way you're not pulling so hard on the wiring and, you know, all that. And I know I'm OCD about stuff. I just, you know, like doing it my particular way, and that way I don't have to fool with it over and over again. Now I'm also going to put a little dielectric grease down in that housing too, and just a tiny little skim coat. And the reason being, and I know you're going to say, oh, it's overkill, you ain't got to do all that shit. Well, the reason I do that is because if you ever have to replace one and those little clips become brittle from the heat and just being up underneath the hood, sometimes they become brittle and they're hard to come apart, and sometimes the little clip can, you know, become brittle, and that just helps them separate and pull apart a little bit easier, and that way you're not trying to rough house them, get them apart. They got some lubrication in there to get them on and off. Plus, you know, like I said, it helps keep water out of them, because where there's grease, water can't get in there, you know, if it's kind of sealed up and compacted. And so anyways, we're gonna go ahead and start plugging everything in, and you can see right in here that you can easily get to all the plugs. You can see right there where I'm wiggling that one. Yeah, I'm just gonna go right down the line here and just plug it up. You can see that plugged up nice and easy. And then the next one is right in here, and it didn't even make a clipping noise just because it's so lubricated, you know. There you go. And then what you want to do is make sure that you route your cable in the way that you are gonna run it. And truthfully, I'm gonna run mine kind of high. That way the wind's not blowing on my cables when I'm going down the road. These will be up high, mounted up high up in here, so you know, the wind's not blowing so much on them and rattling them. Now I'm gonna zip tie them up and out of the way. So you guys can see right here. Here's your other plug right here in the middle. You guys don't really need to see me plug in all these, but there's that one. Then I've got one last plug. Now it's all plugged in. Now you just got to run your wire. So next I'm going to take a zip tie, and right here on this little plastic bracket there's some holes in it, and I'm just going to take and run that zip tie through there, and then run it back up that same bracket. And I'm going to take and put that first Raptor light through there. I'm just going to secure it to that bracket. Now that's not both Raptor lights on this side, that's just the first one. I want to kind of keep them separate, so that way in case I ever have to change one out, I'm not having to cut all these zip ties out. I'm just doing one at a time, and I'll know which one it needs to be cut. And by doing it this way, it's keeping the wiring up high out of the flow of the wind. See what I'm saying, guys? Keeps it up nice and high. And that way, when you're going down the road, the wind's not rattling that wire so much, and it's not putting a lot of strain on that wire at all. It's just being nice and held right there tight, so that way you don't have any breaks in your wires from the vibration. So yeah, just zip tie it, make sure it's up and secure and out of the way and not going to be pinched on anything or vibrated to death, and you should be good. So we got all four of the lights plugged in. We got everything routed up under here nice and tight, and we got plenty of zip ties on it. That way, you know, it doesn't rattle around. And I would put a few extra zip ties on it, because the wiring on these Raptor lights is really small, and you get one little area where it vibrates, it can break those little copper or aluminum lines. It looked like they were aluminum to me really cheap thin lines. So that's why I'm being so cautious, and that's why I wrapped it in loom too, because that loom can help support the wire as well. But I took and I folded a piece of this plastic down right in there so my wire will fit in there, my little loom that I made, and then we bent a zip tie to have it come up right there on the frame, and we're gonna secure it right here. But first I'm gonna test fit it and kind of see where this little plate's gonna fit at. So yeah, there's gonna be no rubbing right there. It's gonna pop out right here. We're gonna secure it right here. Make sure we got plenty of extra line right there so it's not rubbing on anything. And I'm just gonna secure that down, and you can see that it's not going anywhere. It's gonna be nice and tight, and then it gives us plenty enough room to run it right up the frame here, right to your fuse box. Alright, so I just wanted to show you guys that I've got my wire routed right here. Took a zip tie and run it through the frame, made my little bend right there, and then right here where this little hood latch is, I zip tied it to there, but not very tight. You don't want to put strain on that cable right there for the hood latch. And then I just followed that hood latch all the way up right there, and then I run one zip tie through the frame, and then I'm going to take and run the cable right up into the fuse box right around there. Now I did have to thought I was going to have to extend this out and make these longer, and I did. I watched several other videos of Raptor lights, and some of the ones that I seen, they had to extend the ground cable and some of the power cables. So I thought I'll go ahead and extend mine. Well, I didn't end up having to. I had to cut some of it off the stock harness that come with the Raptor lights. So I want it to look nice and neat, just like factory, so nobody will ever be able to tell that I've done anything to it, unless you're a mechanic or whatever. But you can see I'm gonna have just enough room, and I got rid of some of that wire. So if you get the chance, don't leave a bunch of excess wire laying around. I mean, that's just more places to have breakage or rubbing, or the wires breaking on the inside. So yeah, plus I want it to look nice and neat, so I cut a lot of that off. So do what you want, but I'm gonna make mine nice and clean. All right guys, so you guys can see right here that I brought my wiring down, brought it right beside the fuse panel, and then right there where I'm gonna run that tap, I went ahead and took right there, and I used one of these solderless connectors, and I connected the two wires together, because the harness and then this little tap piece was two pieces, so I connected them together with the solderless connector. If you've never used these before, you can Google solderless connector. And then after I used the solderless connector, I took it a step further, and I ran a piece of marine heat shrink over top of it, just to give it 2 layers of protection. And I run it up there as far as I could, and used a cigarette lighter and melted it. And then while I was there, I had a little ring terminal that I crimped onto the end of the wiring. And I gotta say, it was kind of a booger, because the wires that come on these lights is really thin, and so I had a hard time trying to crimp that terminal on there. But now that I've got it crimped on there and put a piece of marine grade heat shrink with some glue, then I'm just going to I pulled the 10mm bolt out of right in there, and I'm just going to run the ground up underneath, and it's going to be mounting right there on the frame, so I can pull on it. I've got some extra room there. Now I'm just going to take this bolt. I'm sorry I'm a little shaky. You guys can see now I have me a nice ground, and it's bolted right to the frame, and the other side bolts to a bracket that bolts to the ECM there. So yeah, it's going to be nice and solid, and you should be able to get a good ground right there. And so now I'm going to go ahead and put my loom over that and tighten it up and get all that nice and tidy, and then we'll go to the next step. Alright guys, so you can see I've got my loom run all the way up, and there's a ground wire connected there, and then I've got this positive wire, and I've got it sitting right here. And then you're going to take this little gripper here for the fuse. It's like a little gripper, and you're going to go right here to where it says 7.5, and you're going to take and latch onto that one and pull it out just like that. And that's where this one is going to fit in there, hopefully. There we go, fits right in there. And then you should be able to take and plug it right on up. Yep, looks like it fits right in there. I'm gonna test it and see if it works, so stay tuned. All right guys, so as you can see, they all work, and I didn't have to edit nothing out, didn't have to cuss, didn't have to fight. And as you can see, you know, everything looks nice and tidy up underneath the hood here. And as far as this little wire here, I know you're probably wondering how I'm gonna close that fuse box. I'm gonna check it and see if I have to, you know, grind just a little bit right in there, and that's fine. You could always use a rat tail file if it won't close. You guys know what I'm talking about, a little rat tail file for like sharpening a chainsaw. That's just plastic right there. It'd take just a couple swipes and clean some of that plastic off, and they give you just enough room to run your wire right there. And you know, I think it looks nice and clean, guys. Looks just as clean as the factory wiring to me. So what I was saying, you can take a rat tail file for sharpening chainsaw, and you know, it'll cut through this plastic real easy. And so what you're going to do is just look and figure out where that wire is going to come out that plastic. Let me set it on here a little bit better. You can see it needs to be filed out about right in there. So what I'm going to do is just take and put my thumb about right there. It's just something I come up with a long time ago. I don't know if it was done before me and I seen it somewhere else. I don't remember seeing it anywhere else, but who knows. I ain't gonna take credit for it. Just a few strokes and you can see, look at that perfect little round circle. Ain't that pretty? Looks pretty nice and professional. And you can pull those little edges off, deburr if you want to, but looks nice and sharp. Nobody even know it. And there's still a little bit of a lip right there, so water can't get in there, you know. Alright guys, you can see right here I went ahead and continued that loom, put a piece of loom around where it's not rubbing on that metal bracket when I close the lid. And let me see, you can see that it closes, and then that just fits right up on there, and you can't see any kind of red wire, no black wire. And my ground is here and my positive connection is right there, and they're close together, and the wires are nice and short. Everything's nice and secure. And then I can take and put me a zip tie right here on this bracket, so that way it's not gonna rattle, and everything should be nice and secure. Everything works great, and so I'm pretty happy with it. Alright guys, so I gotta say that was a very easy installation. I mean, all the LEDs clipped in there, like literally took a minute to clip all of them in and run the wires. It was all easy to get to. I mean, you just remove that plastic piece, and it literally was the easiest wiring job you could do. So if you're, you know, debating whether you can do this at home, trust me, you can do it. If you have any kind of knowledge at all, you can do this, trust me. Go for it. Just take your time. You're not in no hurry, and you know, just route your cables nice and neat, and you know, make sure that nothing's rubbing up against anything. And that's the main thing, is just keep it nice and tidy. Look where your other cables are flowing. Look for places to hook onto where nothing's going to be rattling around, and you know, make sure that the fuse box closes and seals up nice, and you know, you'll have good results. Now look at the lights here in the front. You know, by putting that epoxy in there, it didn't dim them at all. The epoxy come out nice and clear, so if anything, it's just going to keep them looking nice and bright and keep all the water and moisture out of them, keep them sealed up. So these things should be nice and bulletproof for a while. And if I do have one that comes out, I mean, literally pop that top cover off, pull the connector off the back, and switch it out. I mean, it's literally a 5-10 minute job if one happens to go out. And for $13 a set, guys, and $5 for the epoxy, and I think $7 for the 100-piece syringe kit, I mean, shoot, you can't go wrong. And you got a bunch of spares, you know, if one goes bad. So anyways, I appreciate you watching this video, and I'm sorry if I didn't show quite everything. It's kind of hard to work on your own vehicle and show every single thing and video it all, but I did the best that I could, and I hope it helped somebody out and you know, taught you how to wire it up. Now if you're interested in seeing the video where I filled these with epoxy, I'll put it to play after this one. You might have to click on it after the video's over, but if you would, please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in the lights, I'll put a link to Temu down below. If you're interested into the solderless heat shrink connectors, I'll put those down below. And anything else that you see here in the video, the dielectric grease, I'll put a link to it down below and all that. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you do buy it from my link, I might make, you know, a small percentage. It's not much, but you know, anyways, keeps me motivated to keep making videos, and hope it helps somebody out. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. See ya.